Hey, my name is Neil Hecox. I'm commenting on the paper called User Generated Content and the Changing News Cycle, and it's by Stephen Quinn, my teacher, and Deirdre Quinn Allen. And I'm just going to talk about the four things I found most interesting. The first one being this quote by a man named Curly, and it goes, "A change from the news as lecture to the news as conversation." I almost want to say, yeah, that makes sense. Like, why did someone have to quote that to make it known? Because news is conversation. In a way, news is almost gossip. Like, journalists try to find a story based on either what people are talking about or, they do some investigation into information and actually make it something that people talk about. And so that quote isn't too surprising, and it shocks me that someone had to say that to, get people to understand it. I drew some graphs on how I feel that the news industry is changing. This is how news used to be distributed. A reporter would be discovering a story and nobody would know about it until they released it, like on primetime television. They had these big announcements and no one would have a clue what it was about until they hit it with this information, and then all of a sudden the conversation started. And that was great for the news agencies and stuff, because they were able to have a monopoly on information. People had to tune in or buy the newspaper to see what was going on. But today, newspapers and television shows are hurting because of the internet and blogs, because it's more of a conversation, like the quote said. And there's, as you can see on this one, there's no release here. It's just, it goes around and around and around. Someone brings it up, and no one really owns it or presents it at all. It just kind of is out there. And I think that's what is really making the newspaper industry nervous, because they can't control it. The second thing that I found interesting is the description about mobile blogs, and how journalists had no clue about it. My first reaction was, how do they not know? I mean, that's their job. They're journalists. But then I realized that I didn't know this, and part of my job is to be a journalist, and it just never occurred to me. And if you go back and consider the first quote that I said from Curly, that news is more of a conversation now, it would only make sense that, the top way people converse these days is through cell phones. So of course, it would be great as journalism. I mean, I think it's ingenious. I never knew that could happen, because I didn't know you could make cameras that work at that great depth, or that anyone would actually want to see it. But I think it's a great idea, and the fact that journalists now know about it, it should really be used. The third section is about the New York Times announcing that its print and online information, its newsroom, would be merged into one. It kind of changed everything. It changed how newspapers function. And someone said it was a philosophical change, and all this stuff. And I was also surprised by this, because later on it said that Martin Nietzenholz had been planning this, of merging the print and the online media for the New York Times, for a decade. A decade. The fact that people are still freaking out about whether the newspaper will survive with this new technology and stuff, and to learn that this has been going on for a decade, they've been planning this, it kind of shocks me. It's like, I think the newspaper industry, they just don't like change. They're not used to change, and I just want to tell them that they need to buck up and just go with it, because if they've been planning this for a decade, why don't they have better ideas? And why, I don't see the point in it. And I think that if you've been planning for a decade, that it shouldn't be so scary. People shouldn't be so afraid of it. My last section is on how everyone in this day and age is competition for the newsroom. Especially with the London bombings and stuff, journalists got their information from people who were there, who it was happening to. And I think that's the way it should be. Journalists aren't so much there to be part of the story, but to bring the story, to tell a story to other people. And if it's an eyewitness account, I think that's great. I don't think it should be something to be concerned about. And as long as the newspaper knows how to and correctly uses eyewitness accounts and eyewitness stories, I don't think there's anything to be afraid of with that. I think it makes a better story, and newspapers can really use it to their advantage. I mean, if you have one story on the only survivor of a plane crash or something like that, you can monopolize that. You can use that. No one else is going to have that story. So you can have all these people going to your website, and it would be beneficial for everyone. And since everyone has camera phones these days, and iPhones, and pictures, and video, and sound, and everything, they can really, really use that to their advantage. And the only competition I think that would happen is whoever has the best eyewitness. So, and that's something journalists I think, should be good at, is trying to find the right person. I mean, that's what they do for interviews and stuff. So I think by reading this, I'm actually not scared about the newspaper industry at all. I'm actually kind of excited with the direction that this is going towards. And that's it for my thoughts on the reading for this week. And stay tuned for next week's reading. Bye!